Day 3 was uneventful. Like the beginning of this video, it was mostly me just editing for a long way home. I'm going to share some information about a piece of artwork on the side of one of Long Way Home's building's history, the jaguar. Jaguar is a Native American word meaning he who kills with one blow. The jaguar originated in North America, though now it only lives in Central and parts of South America. The jaguar moved south when Central America formed into a land bridge. Jaguars prefer habitats like jungles and swamps, but also semi-arid mountainous regions, so long as the area is forested. The jaguar is also one of the few cats to like water, and can often be seen playing in it. As for the mythology and legends, the jaguar was seen as a god in Peru, Mexico, and Guatemala in the pre-Columbian era. The Mayans, Aztecs, and Inca all worshipped the jaguar in some form. In the pantheon, the jaguar god was second only to the snake god in religious importance. At the temple of the jaguar at Chichen Itza, the king had to walk beneath a frieze of a procession of jaguars during his coronation ceremony. In Mayan mythology, the jaguar was seen as the ruler of the underworld, and as such, a symbol of night and darkness. There were Mayan priests called Balam who officiated at only the most important ceremonies. Along with the Aztecs and Mayans, the Inca also built temples to the jaguar. The art piece creates a balance between the aesthetically pleasing side of the artwork and the aggressive stance that the animal distinctly falls into, giving it depth without adding too much shading. On day 4, I met a new group of volunteers who were unfortunately leaving on Sunday, which meant I only had a few days to get to know them. They had a great time here, helping create and add for an office a type of siding to the interior and exterior, otherwise known as cob. We went on a grand trip for day 5 before they had to leave, where we went and explored the largest mural in Guatemala, explaining the history of the Comalapan people in great detail. Then after that, we visited a nice art gallery by Oscar Perrin. After that, we went to learn about the weavers of Comalapa, where many of us got to try out weaving. Day 6 consisted of saying goodbye to the last group to come during my stay here, and then visit Antigua. It was a long 2-hour journey by car through windy mountains, before arriving at a tourist-filled city. It is a prime example of over-tourism, with the Spanish architecture and ruins scattered about. I'll go into more depth with day 6 in another video, for it is a full day. I have a new problem now. Instead of a lack of content, I have a huge amount of content, and over the next few days I'm going to see if I can provide it in chunks.
Wow, look how close that is. That is a tight. There's a doggo. Hello, doggy. Hello, doggy.
So this mural, just to sort of start off, was originally created by a German woman who was interested in starting this project, and then worked with local artists as well, like in the early 2000s. And then it was also sort of restored in 2010, and then hopefully this January they're also going to start some more restorations. So this mural is 84 panels long, which makes it the longest mural in Guatemala, actually. Sorry, the cars will be loud, and I might stop for some of the really big trucks that pass, but just let me know if you can't hear me at all. So the mural starts with sort of the creation of the earth and creation of humans. So this is actually a Mayan creation myth that's depicted here. That's from the Popol Vuh, which is basically like the Mayan religious text, like the Mayan Bible. And so this story is about how the gods were trying to create man. So at first they started with wood, and they tried to create man out of wood, but it's too rigid and inflexible, like emotional and clumsy and falling apart. So then the gods created man out of corn. And then here from this creation myth, we have the 4 different colors of corn that are meant to symbolize the 4 different races of humanity.
Cool.
So then we sort of move to daily life being depicted, Mayan civilization. So you all might have heard of some of the what are now ruins up in northern Guatemala, like Tikal, maybe you've heard of some of these ruins, but these big sites like Tikal were large marketplaces where everyone would come and do their shopping and chat with each other. So this is sort of partially what's being depicted here. So here are people doing sacrifices, going about their daily life in the marketplace, and then as well here is depicted sort of the travel of people who have goods and commerce itself heading towards Tikal or other big marketplaces to be able to be in a center place to sell their goods. Here we have depicted some of the fighting between Mayans and Mayan people. Sort of what's continued into the present day, also the resilience of Mayan culture. So here we have sort of the classic Catholic, I should say Catholic church, writing about what they're doing and their plans, maybe writing back to the team, so sort of like organizing and planning. So this is sort of all happening together here. And then some really important Mayan symbolism. So here we have a tiger, like just sort of strength, and then we also have many of these two-headed eagles or condors, which we talked about earlier when we were at the Big White Church. At the center of the top of the Big White Church is also a two-headed condor. Really, it's supposed to symbolize the 2 different cultures sort of blending into one. So we have the Spanish culture, and then we also have the Mayan culture. So the Spaniards obviously colonized many parts of the world, and in some areas they essentially wiped out the indigenous people who were there before. But Guatemala, it was more of a assimilation style of colonization. So more just like we had talked about with the church as well, where they took a Mayan site and built a Catholic church on top of it. Sort of
Sorry, it's okay.
we have this building of the Big White Church that we saw in the center of town. And actually, interestingly, here we can see depicted, these are Comalothan men wearing the traditional Comalothan dress for men. So it's this white suit with the sombrero and then also the red sash belt. So interestingly, I'm sure you've seen on the street so far, lots of women wearing tzilas, wearing traditional Mayan clothing, but you don't really see the men wearing their traditional clothing as much. So that's an interesting sort of distinction. They still do sometimes for like special occasions, or holidays, or maybe for a wedding or something like that, but not nearly as common. So just kind of an interesting thing to note there also about the culture changing once again. As we'll sort of talk about once we get more present day, but there's incorporating globalization as factors of So here we also have the women wearing their traditional tzilas. So these are the colors of Comalapa. So the skirt with the blues, and then the top having the red shoulders and these geometric designs. So that's unique to Comalapa. And actually, interestingly, though we associate this very much with Mayan culture, these different these trajes, like traditional dresses, were actually given by the Spaniards as a way to distinguish different regions and different types of Mayan culture. So you may have heard this before, but there are about 22 Mayan languages still spoken in Guatemala, and those correspond with different histories and traditions. So even among Kachiko, which is one of the languages which is also spoken here, there's also communities like near Lago Atitlan that also speak Kachiko and have different dress because they're from a different region and may pronounce things a little bit differently. So there's still some dialect differences even between those 22 different languages. So just think of how rich and diverse what we call Mayan culture really is. And then, of course, we also have the women depicted here at a pila, washing their clothes, bringing their clothes to wash. So it's a good social time for women to be sharing with each other, and then also doing their laundry, getting water for their house, doing the tasks that they need. And you can see we've passed several pilas, and here's a big one just across from us.
Over there.
Notice. But that one under the bridge as well, where we saw people doing their laundry in the morning, same sort of deal.
What would you describe if you had to explain the step-by-step process when constructing a barrel vault house?
The very first thing you do is dig a foundation, and once you've gotten that completely flat, then you dig your first. You dig a trench for the first layer of tires. You fill that with 6 or 8 inches of gravel, depending how much groundwater you expect. You put your first layer of tires down, and you fill those with gravel, and then pound those in. At the same time, you start working on the rebar for your doors, and then you go up with 9 more courses of tires and do your windows in the process of that. Then you do a bond beam all the way around. Then you pour the doors and the bond beam, so it's one complete unit of concrete. And then you have rebar coming out of the bond beam, and that rebar gets tied together. Then we use the welded wire fabric to give it some shape. Then we use chicken wire so that we can tie glass bottles into the roof. That chicken wire is also where we pour the concrete, because we have to use chicken wire that's small enough so that the concrete doesn't fall through it. And once the concrete roof is poured, then we have a tendency to go to do the floor so that we have a really good solid surface. Or we have a tendency to work on the floor next, because when we scoop out everything out of the floor, we use that for our cob material, and that goes into the walls. Once that floor is completely clean and everything that we could put into the walls is done, we would then take and pour a concrete floor, whatever kind of floor, so we have a place to mix anything else for the finishes for the walls. Then we do doors and windows, and that's usually pretty much it. But that's a school building structure, not a house structure.
Okay.
A house structure involves more
More stuff.